Click the panels! Well, one panel. The password is, see you soon. Okay, I'm gonna take your lack of response as tacit verification. Also, this pretty much has to be the last conversation we have, right? Your timeline cuts out completely in a minute or two because of the scratch. What are you looking at up there? Are you hypnotized by the flashy shit? What the fuck? That's been going on ever since John started scratching that big goddamn record. Aren't you acclimated to it by now? Hello? Harley Jegus, mother of screaming fuck! Whatever, I have shit to do now. I guess I should be keeping an eye in the sky too now that I think about it. The bright green beacon should be appearing any minute, assuming you actually manage to blow up the sun. And then, well, then I guess maybe we all get to hang out? While maybe also not being in unyielding mortal peril. It's getting kind of old, frankly. Okay, well this is a pretty crappy farewell, but I guess it'll have to do since there is some seriously show-stopping shit transpiring up there in the fucking outer space. Later, Jade. I'm gonna make sure John knows what the hell he's supposed to be doing. And in case none of this works and we don't actually get to meet, I guess I should say, since apparently my gutless future self can't express himself and never got around to saying it, thus leaving it to me as usual to say that. Oh, sorry, I was distracted. Oh! No, not by all that scratchy stuff in the sky. There's something coming down. What? It's hard to make out, but I think it might be... What? Shaving cream? Hey, super tadpole. Shaving cream? Oh no. Pew. What the hell is shaving cream? It's like... Ceased trolling Cardiagnostic. Hey, Carcat? The big man has the cream. Buh. Oh no! The little tadpole fallen into the volcano. Dead! Happy dance! Dance becoming progressively less happy. Fuck. You know, I was just thinking, I think Cascade's coming up. Dear Lord, here it is. Cascade. End of Act 5. Play. And that is Cascade. I think the only thing I don't understand is why can Jack and the Peregrine Mendicant use the Wayward Vagabond's station in order to send themselves to the Troll Session. I think that might be what the toggle on it does. It changes it from an Purifier to... No, that's not the Purifier. The Purifier's in the other room, right? So I guess it's a Sendificator. And it sends between the two sessions, I guess. Hoo-wee! End of Act 5. Begin intermission 2. Oh. Right. I mean, we all knew this was coming, right? You did remember the code, correct? The English code? Well, I mean, he's already here. But now he's here. Also, we see the return of dual-natured objects. If you've read Problem Sleuth, you're intimately familiar with dual-natured objects. If you refer to it in one of its instantiations, it becomes the other. His coat is also his time-traveling sarcophagus. As soon as you refer to it as the coat, it becomes the time-traveling sarcophagus. As soon as you refer to it as the time-traveling sarcophagus, it becomes his coat. Alrighty then. End of intermission 2. Act 6. Funny. Welcome, everyone, to Act 6. As far as I'm concerned, this is the Great Schism. There's everything before Cascade, and then there's everything after Cascade. And this is where I really start disliking the comic. And dear sweet Christ, we have 4,000 more pages to go. You can expect a whole lot more commentary from me, editorializing as I talk about what I like and what I don't, and why I don't like it. But we knew this is what would happen when we went into this. Act 6. Homestuck. A young lady stands in her room. It just so happens that today, the 11th of November, 2011, is the date scheduled for the launch of a highly exclusive playtesting experience for a much-anticipated game. The young lady is expecting to find this game in her mailbox today. She is expecting the game to be enclosed in a pair of envelopes, and printed on these envelopes, she is expecting to find her name. What do you suppose the name on the envelope will be? Enter name. You cannot enter her name. It was already engraved on her honorary placronym on her 13th birthday, which was about 2.5 years ago, and has been sitting here neatly on the bookshelf ever since. Attempting to engrave it with another name after completing this sacred rite of passage is practically unheard of, and is a gesture nearly as offensive as it would be if you tried to name her something dumb like Barn Stench Fartface. Luckily, she's not the sort to hold a grudge, and she will let it slide this time, as long as you hurry up and get her big day started. She's not the sort to hold a grudge. I don't think that'll stand true, but we'll see. Your name is Jane. As was previously mentioned, you are poised for an elite opportunity to test the Spurb Alpha. It is so elite, in fact, you are the only of your kind invited to playtest. Though you guess that probably comes with the territory of being the heiress apparent to a baked goods empire. You don't suppose it hurts that you are said empire's #1 fangirl either. It should come as no surprise that you enjoy baking, but you also adore reading detective stories. You fancy yourself a skilled prankstress, if by no other measure than lineage, though at times you feel it's tough to fill those shoes when you're surrounded by such jokers. Seriously, the shenanigans perpetrated by your pals make your old-school japes feel kind of pedestrian sometimes. But, oh well, you love them all anyway. You once dabbled in amateur botany, but found it too frustrating, because your vegetables kept Actually, you know what? You don't want to talk about it. You love situation comedies, whilst holding particular affection for mustachioed funnymen. You know, your Foxworthys, your Funks, and your Swansons. But not necessarily your Gallaghers, per se, because you have to draw the fucking line somewhere. You're also pleased to contemplate frightening fauna, though saddened by their regrettable fakeness attribute. But none of that's in your mind now, because you're psyched about this special date, 11/11/11, i.e. 2 times 3 prong day, whatever that means. A date exhibiting just the sort of numerical gimmick corporations love to exploit for their big releases, or for launching major rebranding initiatives. In the case of your cherished multi-global empire, both such events are slated to happen today. You can't wait to see what is in store, and for the mail to come. When it does, you will waste no time in embarking on the game's maiden voyage, and if even a fraction of what you've heard turns out to be true, you're prepared to have the time of your life. What will you do? Jane, quickly retrieve arms from chest. Jane is not empowered to rehash this tired running gag, because all of a sudden she's too busy being this other guy. We need to figure out what this fellow's name is pronto. Enter name. Once again, you make an incalculable blunder of attempting to engrave an already allocated placronym. His name was etched when he turned 13, too, almost 3 years ago. It's been sitting here messily in his unbelievably deadly pile of guns ever since. What sort of vulgar, childish moniker are you going to stick this poor bastard with? Barf breath turd smirk? Doesn't even matter. Just tell him what to do. Examine room. Your name is Jake. You love movies. All movies. You would describe your taste in film as eclectic, but in truth, it isn't much less than totally indiscriminate. You bluster frequently of exuberance for firearms and fisticuffs and adventure. though have no human company with which to share these interests. But who needs chums when you can enjoy a top-notch gander of your gals of cerulean complexion? Hubba hubba. You're known to be found with your nose in a comic book or two, not that it makes you a nerd or anything, like you even care about that. Not a gent of your panache and swagger, qualities of which you would bandy with aplomb on your globe-spanning adventures. Hypothetically speaking, of course. You would love to travel around the world, toppling any sacred urns you encountered. You'd be tickled by the opportunity to defile hallowed tombs everywhere, raiding them of their treasures, and how you'd give your right leg for a shot at desecrating the shit out of some real-life mystic ruins for their Byzantine wares. Luckily for your limb, there's a dandy set of such ruins nearby, and you desecrate them quite frequently. You're also troubled to contemplate frightening fauna, and plagued daily by their regrettable realness attribute. What else? Well, you sure like to wrestle. Did you mention fisticuffs yet? You know, scrums and whatnot? Also skulls. Gosh, you love skulls. There's a good skull at the heart of any mystery, haunting its every page. That's what you always say. Or at least, it's what you always hope. What will you do? Hold on. Was there any reference to Jane's? Yeah, Jane's heroic title is in her thing, too. But we'll worry about that later. You make a dutiful motion towards your trusty firearms, doing your part to assail the mushy carcass of a horse that passed away long ago, when suddenly a wild character select screen approaches. You really feel like you're in the driver's seat now. You can basically take this story literally anywhere, as long as you don't pick one of those shadowy characters, and as long as the panels aren't actually finished being drawn. It's like this whole panoramic cornucopia of limitless possibilities sprawling before your very eyes. Who do you want to be? I want to be this one. Nope. What about this one? Also nope. I guess I'll be this one. Ooh, now we get to see where they're geographically located. Let's be Jane for now. You're suddenly Jane again. What was it you were up to? Oh, right, this game. You're excited about it. Earlier this morning, you thought you heard the mail truck, even though the mail never comes in the morning, but just to be sure, you rushed downstairs to check, even though due to recent events, you are forbidden from leaving the house. Alas, it was not there, and you sort of spaced out at the sky with a goofy grin on your face for no great reason, and then you were caught red-handed by your guardian. Then you got in trouble. You think you might be grounded now? Whatever, Dad. Jane, examine fetch modus. It's your recipe modus, an extremely handy little inventory widget your dad got you for your birthday a couple years ago. He can be a real hard-ass sometimes. Well, not really, but he sure knows how to spoil his little girl. Jane, captchalogue it. You stick the recipe modus in your, recipe modus. You flip the card over and look at the back. The thing about this modus you think is really cool is that instead of showing a completely useless, wobbly, garbled code on the back, it itemizes the components which could be used to create it, in a completely hypothetical framework, of course. Just another wonderful innovation by your favorite company. It releases many products of an experimental nature, often with applicability to other kinds of technology, and products which haven't hit the market yet. Of course, as the heiress, you are privy to all the sweetest gear in advance. Maybe you'll rummage through some of the stuff later. The modus as a captchalogued object has only one simple recipe, involving an array modus, snore, and a cookbook. Yes! Other objects have more varied and elaborate recipes, though. Jane, get hat. You captchalogue your favorite hat, which is also your only hat. You spent basically your entire childhood in this hat, pretending to be hard-boiled detectives and whatnot. In public, you and your dad made quite the pair. Everyone could tell by a glance that you were your father's daughter, sired from his loins directly and genetically through that what was undoubtedly a natural process of human procreation, involving a man and a woman. People would definitely nod and say, "Yep, that little lady there sure did emerge from a womb on account of that gentleman's awesome virility." As you can see, there are loads of ways to cook up a hat like this, involving many stupid combinations of random objects. Is that a plant? Charles Dutton book? Matriorb. It's one of your funny men pinups. Oh, Jane, inspect posters. It's one of your funny men pinups, a glorious Foxworthy. It's one interest that overlaps with your dad's. He thinks this corny redneck shtick is just the funniest thing since sliced bread. That was sliced by a hilarious clown with a laugh knife. Honestly, you don't care much for his comedy, though. Dealing the low-income bucolic classes affectionate sass ad nauseum isn't what you'd call your cup of tea. You just think he's really handsome. Every time he starts rattling off pointers on how to self-diagnose bumpkinhood, you just get lost in that pair of blue twinklers and those soft auburn lip bristles. You were so shy when you got the poster autographed. If only you felt worthy of that, Fox. Oh, and there's one of your Problem Sleuth posters. You've got a lot of Problem Sleuth stuff because you think detective stories are just so swell. This was the last panel in the first story, which ended a little before your 13th birthday. Since then, the author's been steadily updating Problem Sleuth 2, which you've been following avidly. You're happy that he stayed in that lane and stuck with a time-tested formula. If he went in a different direction, you probably would have found it really disappointing. Jane, check out other posters. Another sleuth poster, of course, with two of your favorite dames ever. The Tobias and Manhattan were gifts for your 14th birthday, sent to you by your good buddy Jake. Just a couple of periwinkle heartthrobs, unquestionably sent in playful retaliation for the ribbing you've given him over the years for his inexplicable infatuation with his phthalo femmes. So he made a couple of coy recommendations for objects of your attraction, and you have hung his cobalt beefcakes here ever since. He was pretty spot on with the Blue Funk, to be honest, since that's like the best show ever. Mr. Cross can blue himself anytime, as far as you're concerned, but the Manhattan, not so much. Comics aren't really your thing, but you hung it up anyway, because that's the sort of thing you do in a mildly escalating feud of passive-aggressive one-upmanship. You own it. But you felt kind of weird about having his blue mutant penis dangle over your head while you sleep, so you covered it with something more obscene. Some sort of revolting troll Howie Mandel, also gifted to you by Jake. Good lord, does that kid have some pretty spotty tastes. This is also your magnificent Swanson. Ron Swanson is the perfect man. You've tried to order all the bacon and eggs in a restaurant on several occasions, but your dad never lets the order go beyond the joke level. What a fuddy-duddy. Jane, take spoon. You tuck your trusty Junior Battermaster's Bullbuster Stirring Solution 50,000 into your strife deck, allocated with the ever marginally pragmatic spoon kind. You wouldn't have it any other way. You love your fancy spoon. It has several million recipes stored in it, and walks you through each step with a soothing female robot voice, just like in science fiction. Some urban legends say that the device also broadcasts subliminal messages distributing ominous Crocker Corp propaganda, but you don't put any stock in that sort of baloney for a second. There's one switch on it that doesn't seem to do anything, though. Maybe yours is defective? Still, it's perfectly serviceable, and has assisted you in whipping many a cake into delicious submission. Jane examined the bunnies. These customized bunnies were gifts to you on your 13th birthday from two of your friends. Both were heirlooms passed down to them, and they decided to coordinate gift ideas and send you dressed-up versions of their beloved childhood toys. You like to think he was shooting for a detective bunny with the one on the left, but you know realistically it was probably an Indiana Jones bunny, more in line with his interests than yours, especially since it came with a little whip that you've since misplaced. The bunny used to belong to his grandma. The other one used to belong to your friend's mom, and she dressed it as a wizard, which was also unapologetically more representative of her interests than yours. That's okay, though. You loved the gesture anyway, and you and she are total Befsies forevers. Her words. And you agree with them. Pardon me. Befsies forevers. Her words. And you agree with them. You did get one more bunny from your other pal. He had to make it himself from scratch, since for some ridiculous reason he didn't happen to have a ratty old bunny heirloom lying around. His gift was somewhat less innocuous. You have no idea where it is, though. Probably just as well. Jane, look out the window.